Oh God, we have another video about Daisy Ridley. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Daisy Ridley is back in the headlines. Is anybody shocked? No, I'm not shocked at all. We have an article here from Bounding Into Comics that says Star Wars lead Daisy Ridley says upcoming Rey film will take franchise's story in a different direction. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Daisy really is promising you guys, promising all of you Star Wars fans out there, if there is any more Star Wars fans out there, that they're going to take the franchise in a new direction. This is after taking the franchise in a new direction already. So they clearly are not done messing up Star Wars, and they're going to keep going until it is literally hemorrhaging money at this point. I think it's already kind of there, but let's just say it's not. They're not going to stop until the thing is literally dead on the ground, being beaten up nonstop as a rotten corpse. So let's get into this article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing to my manga channel. The links are in the description box below. I will love to see you there. So it says, in a declaration that rings hollow, well, that's putting it lightly, given Disney's ongoing refusal to address any of the very apparent quality issues currently plaguing every one of their studios, Star Wars actress Daisy Ridley has teased that her upcoming Rey solo film will be taking the shambling corpse of a franchise in a different direction. Okay, I guess I agree. You know what, I'm gonna take back what I said earlier. This thing is dead already, okay? It's completely dead, and it is a corpse. It is absolutely being beaten into the ground, even though it's already dead. And Daisy Ridley and people like her and Kathleen Kennedy and all that beautiful stuff going on at Lucasfilms is the responsibility for this dead corpse that keeps getting completely beaten down into the ground. It says a sequel trilogy star provided this insight into her next franchise outing during a January 12th interview given to French entertainment news outlet Allociné. I don't know how to say that. In promotion of her upcoming romantic dramedy, Sometimes I Think About Dying. I'm sure that's how a lot of Star Wars fans feel when they watch the new Star Wars. I almost guarantee that. At one point during the interview, the format of which saw the asking the actress for her thoughts on various photographs taken throughout her Hollywood career, really was pressed for her thoughts on the Rey's film surprise reveal at last year's Star Wars Celebration, to which the actress recalled that was actually quite last minute. I don't know why we want to pretend as if this was a surprise, right? So you knew that the upcoming films were going to be based about Rey. Pretty much everybody knew that it was going to be based about Rey. The entire reason that the last three movies ended the way they did was to set up Rey as the savior of the Jedi Order. So why would anybody think that it wasn't going to be based on Rey? I don't know why they would even say that it's a surprise reveal, because it definitely wasn't a surprise reveal. Look at, why do they all have the same face, bro? Like, why is it always the same face? The eyes, I'm using this as my thumbnail. I'm sorry. If you're seeing this video now, I'm using this as my thumbnail because, my God, they always have the crazy eyes, bro. What is going on with this crazy eye shit? It says, I was actually making my own film last year when Kathleen Kennedy said she wanted to have breakfast, detailed the actress. And I thought we were just having breakfast. So I literally was eating breakfast and she said, we might do another one. And I was like, oh, okay. So I thought about it for a little bit. Once I knew what the story was and everything, I knew that it was something I wanted to do, she then opined. I think it's really fantastic exploration of the Star Wars world. It's a really cool way of taking a story in a new direction. What new direction? You're feminizing everything. There's nothing new about it. You've been doing that for the last three movies. You're going to do it for the next three movies, and you're going to wonder why you're not making nowhere near as much money. I am so curious, ladies and gentlemen. I really am. And if I'm wrong, I will gladly admit it. I've done it before, but I really am super curious to see what the viewership of the next three Star Wars films are going to be. The last three Star Wars films did a lot of bait and switch, which is what ended up making it do so much money, okay? It did taper off towards the end, but still, it was a lot of money, admittingly. But I'm very curious if any of these films were past $1 billion now. I'm very, very curious. I would say probably not. I think it would get close, but I would say probably not. But of course, again, I could be wrong. It says, turning to her feelings on being tapped to reprise her role as the last of the Palpatine bloodline, Ridley admitted to it was very strange. It took me back to being 20 because, again, I couldn't tell anyone, said the Marsh King's daughter star. Like, I went to my mom's house and was like, Mom, and she was like, how are we doing this again? And then my husband was filming in LA, so he wasn't awake. And I was like, would you wake up so I could tell you? And it was very strange because it was all sort of secretive again. And then I came out on the stage and it was very much not secretive anymore, added Ridley. It was wonderful. And the thing about those conventions are everyone everyone is really lovely and everyone's really lovely to each other. And I think that a lot of time people online sort of make out there was a discourse or whatever, and it actually isn't shared by a lot of people. And my experience has always been very welcomed. Well, number one, there is a lot of discourse on Star Wars, okay? You know how you know there's a lot of discourse? Look at the TV shows. Look at how they're performing. Look at the constant steady decline. Actually, it's not even a steady decline. You are literally falling down a cliff in terms of viewership. You are tanking that bad as the TV shows progress and more comes out. Like, nobody's interested in the Star Wars universe, at least from a TV show perspective. The movies might be something different. Again, I don't know. I can't tell the future. But experience would tell me that it's not looking very good for the upcoming 3 Star Wars films that are going to be starring Rey as the savior of, the entire fucking universe at this point. And I will also say, when it comes to these conventions, of course, everybody's going to be lovely. But I do think it's pretty ironic that these same movie stars that say, oh, Star Wars fans are racist, Star Wars fans are all white and alt-right and all this other stuff, and they're toxic and they're this and they're that, when they go to these conventions and they're surrounded by Star Wars fans, all of a sudden they're all just lovely people. Like, everybody's lovely to each other. Nobody's mean. Nobody's anything. So what happened to all the toxic fans? What happened to all the racist fans? You think they didn't go to the convention? I guarantee you a few of them definitely went. So what happened to it? The narrative pretty much always changes when it comes to the fans-oriented things. It says, notably, this is not the first time Ridley has shared these memories and sentiments regarding her franchise return. Asked during a November 2023 interview with Hollywood Reporter's Brian Davids if she could detail just how the Rey film came to be, the actress asserted, the basic course is when I was at Sundance, I did not know. I shot my movie Magpie when I got back, and I had a breakfast with Kathleen Kennedy, and I thought that was just breakfast. And then it was mentioned, so I thought about it. I love the story, and I was like, okay. Then things happened quite quickly, and it felt like I was instantaneously on stage being introduced by director Activist Girl. I honestly took me back to being 2021, etc., etc. We already read that. Drawing her thoughts to a close, Ridley ultimately opined, I haven't read anything, but I know the story. It's really worth telling, worth exploring, and I think people will be excited. Wait, what? What do you mean you haven't read anything? How do you know the story if you haven't read anything? I'm assuming you mean you haven't read a script, most likely, but I guess you must know like how it begins and how it ends, because there's a lot of in between there. You don't know if that in between is going to be a good story. You may know where they're going in terms of how they want it to end. You may know where they're going in terms of how they want it to start. But what about all the in between? There's no guarantee that that's going to be a story that's going to be any good. But I guess for someone who doesn't really read, like Daisy Ridley, just getting the cliff notes is enough to know whether it's a good story or not. As of writing, little is known regarding the plot of Rey's solo film, outside of the fact that it will follow the titular heroine as she works to rebuild the entire fucking universe. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.